Alright then, let's get right into it, because although it might feel like a quiet Tuesday, in the world of football, the Celtic universe is never really still, is it? We're just a few days away from kicking off another competitive season, and while the noise from Lennox Down might have dipped a little, the conversations among the supporters have only grown louder. The buzz is all about transfer, squad depth planning, or, depending on who you ask, the lack of it, and whether or not the club is genuinely prepared to build on the success of recent years. And there's a lot to unpack, let's be honest. Here the fanbase is split. Some are cautiously optimistic, clinging onto the belief that the quality we already have will carry us through the early part of the season. Others are absolutely raging at what feels like another sluggish summer window, with that familiar sense of déjà vu creeping in. Because if you've supported Celtic long enough, you know this feeling well. The club not quite moving fast enough when it comes to the transfer market, letting opportunities slip and giving off the vibe that we're scrambling rather than steering the ship. So let's just address it head-on. Right now, the biggest frustration floating around is the lack of new signings ahead of the league opener, and it's fair. We've watched the likes of Kyogo leave Jota injured and out of the picture, and Nicholas off to chase his next move, and what have we got in return? A few names out the door permanently: Scott Bain, Lagerbielke, Kwan, all gone. Others like Nawrocki, Palma, and Tilio being lined up for loans with options to buy. Montgomery's out at Livingston, and a couple more lads have linked up with Scott Brown at Ayr United for season-long loans. In terms of tidying up the squad, it's been solid work, credit where it's due, but that's only one side of the job. If you're not bringing in quality starters at the other end, then all you're really doing is shrinking the squad, not strengthening it. And that's the crux of the frustration right now. Brendan Rodgers, whether directly or indirectly, has made it clear what he needs: a center-back to partner Carter Vickers, a starting striker to replace Kyogo, and a right winger to cover for Nicholas' departure. Some might even argue we need a left winger to, particularly with Jota still a question mark. That's three maybe for first-team quality players, not squad fillers, starters. The window still has time to go, of course, but the clock's ticking, and what makes it worse is that it doesn't feel like the club is operating with any urgency. If anything, it feels like we're waiting for something to fall into our laps, hoping we can get away with it for a few more weeks until something comes through. The reports about Jacob Briem are a prime example. 3 bids, each one below what go-ahead Eagles have clearly stated they want. What's the point if the player's worth it? Pay the fee if he's not move on. But this half and half out approach, it's infuriating, and it's not just this summer. We've seen it before. Remember January, Kyogo clearly wanted out for some time, yet no replacement came through. We put on a brave face, talked about making do, but the truth is the second half of last season was never the same without him. That Villa tie in Europe, maybe. With Kyogo we edged through. That Scottish Cup final, you back him to make the difference at Hampton. But he wasn't there, and no one was brought in to fill that void. Same story with Nicholas. We all knew he was off this summer. Again, no clear plan in place for when he left. And the perception, whether it's accurate or not, is that the club has been caught flat-footed. No ready-made replacement, no signing waiting in the wings. Meanwhile, clubs like Sporting are already replacing their top players before they even leave. Victor Gyökeres moves to Arsenal for a massive fee, and Bank Sporting already had Luis Suarez in the door for 25 million euros. That's how you run a football club with ambition. That's how you give your fans belief that there's a plan. And that's maybe the biggest issue of all right now. It doesn't feel like there's a plan. Celtic are still a massive club with massive potential, but too often we don't behave like one in the transfer market. We act reactive rather than proactive. We wait too long. We haggle over pennies. We let key windows pass without making the statement signings we know we need. Now I get it, transfer negotiations aren't simple. Brendan's said that himself. You're dealing with agents, clubs, buyout clauses, personal terms. It's complicated. But it's complicated for every club, and some of them still manage to get things done swiftly. You think about how we used to operate under Ange Postecoglou, and the contrast is glaring. He lost Christopher Julian and signed Carl Starfelt the same day. He moved on Juranovic and already had Alistair Johnston ready to step in. Koumakis left and Nkemo almost immediately. That's how you minimize disruption. That's how you keep momentum going. This summer, though, feels the complete opposite. Every deal is a saga, every rumor drags on. And for the fans, it just feels like the club sleepwalking through the window, while others get their business done early and hit the ground running. And yet, for all the frustrations, there's still a lot to be positive about. The squad, even as it stands, isn't a disaster. Far from it. In fact, it's still stronger than most in the league. Cameron Carter-Vickers is arguably the best centre-back in Scotland. Alistair Johnston for me the best right-back we've had since Lustig. Kieran Tierney might be gone, but no one's come close to his level at left-back since. McGregor is a born leader, and guys like Haddad, Maeda, O'Reilly, they're all still here. They're good enough to dominate domestically, but are they enough to make that next step in Europe? Not without reinforcements. And that's where this whole thing loops back round. Because this season isn't just about retaining the league title or winning another double. It's about making a mark in the Champions League. It's about building on what we started last year, and to do that, standing still isn't good enough. We need to evolve. We need to strengthen. Not just fill shirts with squad players, but actually sign players that lift the starting 11. There's a sense that the board still sees us more as customers than supporters. That constant take approach, season ticket hikes endless. New kits, paywalled content, friendlies not included in packages. All of that adds to the growing disconnect. Fans want to feel part of something bigger. They want to believe the club is ambitious, that it's moving forward with purpose. And right now that faith is being tested. But here's the thing, despite all of that, despite all the doubts and all the frustrations, I'm still excited, genuinely. Not out of blind loyalty or naivety, but because I believe in this team. I believe in Brendan Rodgers. I believe in the core of players we've got. And I think they're capable of doing something special again this season. Yes, Rangers will be better. Of course they will. They've had to be. They've spent money. They've brought in new faces and they'll want revenge. But I'm not worried. I welcome the challenge. Because this Celtic team has done it before. They've risen to the occasion time and time again. And I back them to do it again. Rodgers knows how to manage these battles. McGregor knows how to lead through them. And if the club does its part, if it finally gets the finger out and brings in the quality we all know we need, then there's absolutely no reason we can't dominate again. Remember last season, same story, same worries, slow window, key departures, fan frustration, and yet look how it turned out. We won a double. We had our best European campaign in over a decade. Things can change quickly in football. All it takes is a couple of the right signings and the mood flips overnight. So yeah, I get the concern, I get the anger, but I also get the hope, because this is Celtic. And when we get it right, when we truly match the ambition of our support, there's no one in Scotland that can touch us. And as we count down to that first whistle, all eyes are on the board. The players are almost ready. The manager is focused. The support is waiting. Now it's time to see if Celtic as a club is willing to back this squad the way they deserve to be backed. Because this season could be massive. We just need to make sure we don't let it slip before it even starts. Right now, let's dig deeper. Because if the first part was a bit of a gut check laying out the current frustrations and a bit of cautious optimism, this next bit has to be the honest deep dive into where Celtic really stand heading into this season. And we're not pulling any punches here, because the truth is this is a crossroads moment for the club. You can feel it. On one side, there's an opportunity to build something genuinely special. On the other, the risk of standing still while others catch up is very, very real. And that's not scaremongering, that's just reality when you're sitting atop Scottish football with a target on your back. Let's start with Brendan Rodgers. For all the flack he's taken over the years, some fair, some not, you cannot deny his pedigree. The man knows how to win titles. He knows how to build teams that dominate domestically. But what he needs, what he has to have, is the backing to do it his way, not half measures. Not late panic buys. Not players being forced into the team because they were cheap or fit the profile some analyst in the backroom cooked up on a spreadsheet. Rodgers needs guys who are ready to slot in and play at his level from day one, and it's maddening that we're sitting here a few days out from the season opener and we've still not given him the tools to properly start the campaign. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a witch hunt against the recruitment department or the board for the sake of it. There's credit to be handed out where it's due. The exits have been handled decently. We've trimmed a bloated squad. We've loaned out players who weren't going to play meaningful minutes, but that's only half the job. Celtic isn't judged on who leaves. We're judged on who comes and on whether we build a team that can not only dominate Scotland, but also finally make a dent in Europe. That's the standard. That's always been the standard. And the painful truth is that right now we're falling short of that. Take the striker situation. Kyogo's departure was no surprise. You could see it coming months before it happened. Yet we're now days from the season kicking off and there's still no clear number 9 ready to lead the line. Adama Ida might return. Shen Yamada is an exciting project. but neither of them is a like-for-like replacement for a guy who scored goals for fun and was often the difference in tight games. Losing Kyogo and not immediately securing a top-tier forward is like pulling the engine out of your car and hoping the wheels will keep spinning on momentum alone. It's naive at best, negligent at worst. Then there's the center-back conundrum. Cameron Carter-Vickers is a rock, no debate there. But every great center-half needs a reliable partner. And right now we don't have one. Nawrocki's off on loan. Starfelt's gone. Welch is solid in domestic games, but has struggled under the pressure of Europe. So again, what are we doing waiting until mid-August to panic buy someone who hasn't played a competitive match since April? This isn't how a club of Celtic's stature should operate. We're not some mid-table team hoping to sneak into a European spot. We're supposed to be the standard in Scotland and a real threat on the European stage. You only need to look at the deals that have fallen apart to feel the frustration. Jacob Briem, for example. Reports say we bid 3 times each time below what go-ahead Eagles publicly asked for. That's not negotiating, that's haggling in bad faith. If you want the player, pay the price. If you don't, move on. But dragging your heels and submitting lowball offers just makes the club look amateur. And the worst part, this isn't new. Celtic fans have seen this movie before. The drawn-out sagas. The hesitation. The hope that no one else comes in with a better offer. It's tiring. And the perception it creates is of a club that's reactive, not proactive. It wasn't always like this. Under Ainge we moved differently, decisively, with purpose. Lost Juranovic Johnson was already in. Yakumakis Gano was signed days later. Even when things didn't pan out like the failed Riley McGree deal, we pivoted immediately and brought in Matt O'Reilly, who turned out to be one of the smartest signings we've made in years. There was a feeling that even if we didn't get our first choice targets, there was a plan, a backup, a system. Now it just feels like chaos. Like the club are waiting for something to fall into their lap. And that's dangerous, because while we stall, others are moving. Rangers, for all their problems last season, are moving with intent, new signings, fresh energy. And most importantly, they've learned from their mistakes. That doesn't guarantee success, of course, but it means we can't afford to sit still. Complacency is the biggest threat to this Celtic team, not Rangers, not Europe. Complacency, because history has shown us what happens when we rest on our laurels. When we let titles lull us into a false sense of superiority. When we treat the transfer window like an optional extra instead of the lifeline it really is. And let's not pretend it's about money. Celtic have the funds. That's been reported over and over again. We're sitting on tens of millions in the bank. The club's in a healthy financial position. But the supporters don't want spreadsheets. They want signings. They want players who'll make them dream again. Players who'll step onto the pitch and wear the shirt with pride and power. Players who can handle a Wednesday night in the Champions League without wilting. And the fans deserve that. Because time and time again they show up. They sell out the stadium. They travel. They buy the shirts. They back the team even when the club gives them reasons not to. And that loyalty deserves to be rewarded. Instead, what they get is more and more signs that the board sees them not as supporters, but as consumers. Season ticket prices go up. Matches not included in the package. New kits dropping every few months. Content hidden behind paywalls. And while some will argue that no one's being forced to buy or pay for anything, they're missing the point entirely. It's not about the money, it's about the perception. About how it feels like the club takes more than it gives. About how the balance between passion and profit is tipping far in the wrong direction. But here's the thing that makes it all so maddening. The bones of something brilliant are already in place. This squad, even in its current state, has the potential to go on and achieve big things again this season. McGregor is still the heartbeat. Carter-Vickers is still a wall. Maeda, Haddad, O'Reilly, Johnson, these are top players. And there are signs that guys like Gustav Lagerbielke, Odin Holm could kick on if given proper guidance and game time. We've got a manager who knows how to win, who knows how to prepare a squad for battle. But even the best general needs weapons. Right now, Rodgers is being asked to go into war with half a toolkit. And that's where the fear creeps in. Not because the team isn't good, but because we've been here before. Because we've seen promising seasons unravel from a lack of reinforcements. Because we've watched Europe become a graveyard for our hopes too many times. Because we know that when Celtic act like a big club, it makes all the difference. But when they don't, the gap closes fast. What the fans want more than anything is belief. Not blind faith, not PR spin. Real belief that the people running this club have a vision, a plan. A hunger to win that matches the intensity on the terraces. They want to see Celtic behaving like a club that remembers its roots, but isn't afraid to grow, a club that learns from its past and builds towards something bigger, not just safer, and that starts with ambition. In the boardroom, in recruitment, in how we speak about ourselves and carry ourselves. It's not just about this summer, it's about setting a standard. So yeah, as we gear up for this new campaign, there's tension. There's unease, there's frustration, but there's also hope, real hope. Because this team has already shown flashes of what it can be. The football in the first half of last season was some of the most enjoyable in years. The squad isn't far off being complete, and there's still time, not much but enough, just enough to get it right. To go into September with a squad that looks stronger, not weaker. To hit the ground running and remind everyone in Scotland and maybe a few in Europe that Celtic are not to be taken lightly. But it can't happen by accident. The club has to choose it, has to push for it, has to back this manager and this squad with more than words. Because potential doesn't win trophies, action does, and the longer we wait, the harder it becomes. This window doesn't have to define the season, but it can, and it will one way or the other. So here we are, a few days from kickoff. The squad's back in training, the fans are ready, the stadium's waiting. All that's left is for the club to match that energy, to make the moves, to send the message not just to Rangers, not just to Europe, but to every Celtic supporter watching, hoping, waiting that this club is serious, that this club still dreams big, and that this season we're not just turning up, we're going for everything. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers have been swirling around Glasgow all week, and now the rumor mill is in full spin. Andrew Robertson, the beloved left back of both Liverpool and the Tartan Army, has reportedly returned to his roots and been unveiled at none other than Celtic Park. Aye, you read that right. The boys might just have pulled off one of the most emotional coups in recent Scottish football history. Word first leaked earlier this month, with murmurs that Robertson had been spotted in Glasgow's West End, fueling speculation of a potential move north. Though many dismissed it as mere summer chatter, the whispers grew louder as Celtic insiders hinted at something special brewing behind the scenes. Now, it appears those quiet nods weren't for nothing. The supposed unveiling of Robertson in the famous green and white hoops has sent shockwaves through both sides of the border. While no official confirmation has come from Parkhead or Anfield just yet, several images have surfaced showing what appears to be the 30-year-old defender donning a Celtic scarf, flanked by club officials. The authenticity of these images remains up for debate, but that hasn't stopped fans from dreaming or believing. If the move is indeed real, it would mark a stunning homecoming for the Glasgow-born fullback. Once a Queen's Park youth player released for being too small, Robertson's journey has been nothing short of legendary, rising from the Scottish lower leagues to Premier League glory and Champions League triumphs under Jurgen Klopp. Yet, amid all the silverware and accolades, he's never hidden his affection for home. Celtic, it's long been rumored, held a special place in his heart. Critics might question the timing. Robertson still has years left at the top level, but others see this as a bold, romantic return. Some say the lure of leading Celtic into a new European chapter may have proven too tempting to resist. Others whisper about family reasons, or simply a desire to bring his career full circle. Whether it's wishful thinking, a cleverly staged tease, or the real deal, one thing is certain though: green half of Glasgow is buzzing. And if Andrew Robertson is indeed heading to Celtic Park, the SPFL just got a whole lot more exciting. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.